A great YouTube video must be in this format. First, tell them what you want to tell. Tell them what you told them you were going to tell. Tell them what you told them. And this makes up a hook, a body, and a conclusion. In this video, we're going to see how you can add some spices to improve these two with the help of editing. You may be making vlogging videos, tutorials, or another type of content, but these tips will still work for you. So now when you are editing a hooking intro, you must bear in mind that you don't have time. It's only for a few seconds, something like 10 to 15, and that means you must have fast cuts. Instead of spending all 15 seconds on one cut, try to make it look better. For example, in this shot here, even though it was shot at a constant distance, in the editing you can still make different cuts, like zooming in or cut back. There are two ways to do this in Wondershare Filmora, which are very easy. The first one is to select your video and use Alt and C to go to Pan and Zoom. Select Pan and Zoom if you want to zoom your video to any direction. Now you resize the endpoint to the amount of zoom you want. And you have created this. For a direct cut, you select Crop, and again, you resize this to the amount of zoom you want. The second way of doing this is by keyframing. Use Alt and K to add a keyframe, and after some frames, increase the scale for a zoom. And for a direct cutback, just add another keyframe. And on the next one, reset the transform. Now, after creating some cuts, here is the next tip: visual graphics. This is the #1 tip to keep your viewer's eye on your video. Let's take a look at this video. And let us assume that this woman is explaining the specs of the Red camera that they used to shoot her vlogs. After she explains, she shows the camera in action. But what if she does better? Here you go. The second clip is better, and let's see why. This is just the text added to the screen, in line with what she is talking about. And you can actually do this in less time because it is just a drag and drop. Then you can animate your text right here. This will create a visually appealing transition between this and this. And when it comes to animating objects, just a little more effort is needed. So I thought you may want a brief of how to do this. Here I have this clip, and I selected this camera part to use as my transition object. Now to remove this background, you don't have to use human segmentation or AI portrait, because both of those tools are going to give you this result. So use the smart cutout. So I selected this camera only for a single frame. Then save. I'm going to add a border to make the edges look better. Make sure you keep that same frame mark. Now take a screenshot of this. And this is what you are going to animate, and at the end of the animation, you are going to fade into the actual video from the marker point. But first, you add a freeze frame for a few seconds. Then add a dissolve. It's actually this simple. If you have any questions on this, just let me know in the comments. Now that you know about creating cuts and visual graphics, I'll just remind you of the sound effects. There is a huge library in Wondershare Filmora. Under Audio, you go to Sound Effects, then select according to your project. Now let's jump to the conclusion. But in short, according to Rob Wilson from VidIQ, you must deliver on your promises in the hook, and if you fail, the viewer will skip your video. You will give the facts and evidence of what you were talking about. I'll leave a link to what I'm quoting. Now you do not want your video to end just as sudden as this. Even though some simple fade-outs are not bad, I'll recommend you to go an extra mile and make up some creative endings. I have some tips you can consider using in your videos to improve end screens engagements. But first, since this is an actual ending screen, let me say something about the video's conclusion. Now, when you start telling them what you told them, you must not take much time. Emphasize the main facts you have covered to drive home the key message. Give your viewers something to think about, and a call to action. When it comes to the actual ending, it depends on the type of videos you are making as well as your audience. One of the most used is the behind the scenes, where creators show how they were creating the video, mostly showing out the mistakes they made during the process.
But this is what a
Some put the end credits, together with the footage of that same video. Another way to end is by putting up the good comments you received in the previous video or one of your videos. Now if you want to know how you can create a cinematic intro using Filmora, just go to this video right here. I'll meet you there.